Hello! Before we start this episode, a few bits of housekeeping. First things first, I haven't uploaded any videos for the last 2 months. Sorry about that. I have been very, very busy. As you may have noticed, there's a bit of a pandemic wreaking havoc across the world right now. I work for the government and I was seconded to a team that's responding to the crisis, and that has taken up all my mental energy. As a result, I just haven't had time for YouTube. And chances are that I'm going to stay busy for the next few months, so I'm not going to be releasing many videos. Secondly, remember a few months ago I ordered some prescription sunglasses from China. They took ages to arrive, they didn't suit me, they gave me headaches, and they cost more than £100, so I sent them back. And in the same video I mentioned that I normally order from a company called Specs for Less, and they've never let me down. The good news is I've ordered from them again, and my new prescription sunglasses are here. These, I would say, look a lot better. They suit me. They don't give me headaches, and they only cost me £20. Yep, just £20, and they are better quality than the £100 sunglasses that I bought last time around. So thank you, Specs for Less. Again, they haven't sponsored me in any way. I haven't got a discount code for you. They're not going to pay me commission. I just like giving credit where it's due. And finally, before I tell you about what I've had in the post this week, I think I need to have an honest conversation about exactly what is going to happen with Tech Tuesdays in the future. You see, I started with the idea that I'm going to do a weekly show about all the tech and gadgets that I buy, and it made sense because I do have a habit of buying a lot of tech and gadgets. The problem is that we're in the middle of a pandemic, in the middle of a recession, and I'm just not buying enough stuff at the moment to make this a weekly show. So, from now on, I'm only going to do this show when I have something new and interesting to share, which means it's not necessarily going to be weekly. Anyway, now that's all out of the way. What up, nerds? I'm Jay Sharif. Welcome to another episode of Tech Tuesdays. So, a few months ago, I did an episode about a new watch I'd bought, and at the time, I explained how much I actually hated watches. In my opinion, they're kind of annoying and unnecessary. I just hate the feeling of having this extra weight on my wrist, and the strap always feels like it's restricting my blood flow. Also, seeing as we all have smartphones now, you don't actually need a watch anymore. Basically, a watch is now just a piece of jewellery. So, why did I just buy another one? And not a cheap one either. Well, remember how I mentioned that my life is a lot more glamorous than I might appear on this channel? And how I get forced to attend some fancy events a few times every year. Well, that Casio G-Shock that I bought just isn't going to cut it when paired with a tuxedo. So, I decided I was going to get myself a watch that was beautiful. But, being a nerd, it also had to be, super techy as well. And I thought I'd found just the thing. It's called the Citizen Skyhawk AT Red Arrows Edition, and it's produced in partnership with the Royal Air Force. Although, to be honest, I'm not sure how much input the Red Arrows had into this watch. I'm pretty sure it's just a licensing deal, so Citizen could use the Red Arrows and RAF logos. If you're not from the UK, then you might not even know about the Red Arrows. They're basically the showy, acrobatic part of the RAF. They do a lot of formation flying at air shows. It's a lot of fun to watch. Now, to be clear, I'm not a military person by background. I just have a great admiration for anyone who can fly a fighter jet, along with astronauts and racing drivers. Fighter pilots are basically the only genuine superhumans. You really do need a very rare level of mental and physical capability to do those three jobs. Anyway, that's not the only reason I wanted the Citizen Skyhawk. If you know me, then you'll know I don't buy a lot of things. But when I do buy something, I want it to be the best. Ideally, I want it to be both functional and beautiful. This watch is definitely functional, and it's also very good looking too. It's not flashy, it's quite nerdy, and I think it's very macho, because it's a serious piece of engineering, and it looks like it too. However, there was a problem with the price. It costs £600, and right now we're in the middle of a pandemic and a horrendous worldwide financial decline. I just couldn't bring myself to drop that kind of cash on a wristwatch. And I was a bit worried about the idea of buying a used model too, because this is a really delicate and complicated piece of kit. Now, having joined a few Facebook groups for wristwatch aficionados, I'd heard that there are plenty of fakes floating about, especially on eBay. So, I could buy a brand new one and pay through the nose, or I could buy secondhand and risk getting robbed. Luckily, there was a third option. Buy a refurbished model direct from the manufacturer. Yes, they are going to be second-hand, but they're going to be genuine and they're going to be half price, and they come with a warranty. Unfortunately, the model I wanted wasn't available. Luckily, an almost identical version happened to be on sale, and it's in this package right here. So this is the Citizen Eco Drive Skyhawk Blue Angels edition. It's almost identical to the Red Arrows version, except it's blue instead of red. And it has the Blue Angels branding. In case you're not American, the Blue Angels are basically the US version of the Red Arrows. Now, because this comes direct from Citizen, it has been given a full service and a thorough cleaning. It's guaranteed to be in full working order, and it costs half the price of a new one. Now, I think it's a beautiful piece of kit. I won't deny, however, that it's quite heavy on the wrist. Let's put it on the scales. 184 grams. Now, that might not sound like a lot, but when you're wearing it on your wrist all day, it adds up. So, let me run through the specs for you. The entire casing and strap is made of high-grade titanium. It's obviously heavy and definitely man-sized. It's about 45mm across, which is about perfect for my wrist. The glass is made of scratch-resistant sapphire crystal, which is about as good as it gets when it comes to wristwatches. It's eco-drive, so basically it's solar-powered. The watch face collects light to charge the battery. However, the front does not look like a solar panel at all. Not only that, the power cells inside can hold enough charge to keep going for months without light, and the display even tells you how much charge is remaining. By the way, these watches can go for a long time without light, but that's not really good for them and massively reduces the lifespan, so don't just leave them in a drawer for months at a time. Now, the Skyhawk is not exactly rugged, but it is waterproof down to a depth of 200 meters, so it's more than capable of scuba diving. Now, personally, I'm terrified of water. I have been diving. I won't be doing it again. As far as I'm concerned, human beings belong on the land. As well as working underwater, the watch also works well in the dark. The hands and markers are luminous, and you can also light up the watch at the press of a button. Obviously, it's analog, which is important if you're going to pair it with a fancy outfit. However, it also has a digital display that can show the time, the date, and the time zone. And speaking of time zones, the watch has 43 cities programmed into it. Just pick the one that matches your time zone, in my case London, and now I'm all set. And will never have to set the time because this is a radio-controlled watch. It repeatedly checks the correct time using a signal from the nearest atomic clock. There are ultra-accurate atomic clocks in different parts of the world, and they are continuously transmitting the correct time via a radio signal. Those signals can be read by watches all over the world, and they use it to ensure they are always telling the correct time. Unfortunately, the system of atomic clocks is only really available in the Northern Hemisphere, so if you're in South America, Africa or Australasia, you might have to correct your watch manually every couple of months. If you're in the northern half of the planet, though, in theory, this wristwatch will always tell the correct time, so long as it can receive the radio signal. And in my case, I think the nearest signal is coming from Germany, but it might be Northern England, I'm not quite sure. You might quite rightly wonder why it's worth going to all that effort. The fact is that all our clocks and watches are either too slow or too fast. As a result, they slowly drift and become less accurate over time, which means you have to constantly keep correcting them. You don't have to do that with radio-controlled watches because they can correct themselves. Anyway, there are lots of other functions on this watch. All the usual features like alarms and stopwatches and timers are there, and if you are mathematically inclined, apparently you can use the numbers on the rotating bezel to help you calculate flight trajectories or something. I haven't looked into it because, quite frankly, none of us will be landing a plane anytime soon. But you can tell from the way this bezel moves, the feel of the movement, how smooth it is, that this is an exceptionally well-crafted timepiece. Overall, I'm very pleased with the Citizen Skyhawk. I would have no shame in wearing this at any black tie event. However, I must admit, I wouldn't wear this on a day-to-day basis. As much as I like the way this looks and the way it feels, at the end of the day, it's basically jewellery, and real men don't wear jewellery. A man, when he's confident in himself, when he knows his own value, knows his own place in this world, he doesn't need to decorate himself like a Christmas tree every day. I don't need to impress anyone. My self-esteem isn't based on your opinion of me, which is why I don't need to show off. I don't need to try and impress you. I don't need a fancy watch or any other affectations. I have no rings, no necklaces, no ear piercing, no nipple piercing, no tattoos, and definitely no stupid fucking wristbands. I am Jay Sharif, and that is enough. I don't need to be anything more than that. The naked, unadorned version of me is good enough. So, as much as I like this piece, and I will keep it in my collection, it's only coming out for special occasions, because for me, this is a very nice piece of engineering, but mainly, it's jewellery. So, the Citizen Eco Drive Blue Angel Skyhawk is available for about £600 or $700 US. I'll leave a link in the description below in case you want to get one for yourself. This has been another episode of Tech Tuesdays. I'll be back again soon with more. Later, nerds.